people are losing their jobs for criticizing slain free speech advocate Charlie Kirk. The MAGA right says Charlie Kirk is a martyr from freedom of expression, but still want people to lose their jobs for criticizing his rhetoric. Hey, guys, freedom of speech doesn't mean freedom from consequences. You idiots set these rules. You're the ones who started this. Now you're crying that it's coming back to you. These guys who've been calling us every bad name under the book, like Nazi, pedophile, racist, whatever, they think that they're going to force us to bend to their will by calling us hypocrites. Like, that's how dumb these people are. Like, dude, you just got done calling me a Nazi pedophile. You think I care that you're calling me a hypocrite? How about you go fuck yourself? I no longer care about you or your opinion at all. Your opinion is irrelevant. And look, you're going to call us hypocrites for holding you to your own standards? Not a single word about how you guys are hypocrites now? About how now you suddenly care about free speech after canceling others for theirs for decades? How about you look in the mirror before calling someone a hypocrite? Or is looking in the mirror not in your NPC programming? Are you not able to do that? The conversation around the assassination of right-wing activist and Orange Man ally Charlie Kirk during a campus event at Utah Valley University on Wednesday has been fiery, to say the least. Graphic footage of 31-year-old Kirk, a husband and father of 2 young children, being fatally shot in the neck has gone mega viral, inflaming passions on all sides. With no suspect in custody. No, they're saying he's in custody now. The public has imagined a full spectrum of deranged political motives for the killing. Proud members of the MAGA movement are using Kirk's death to call for a civil war with far leftists they accuse of inciting violence. Hey, guess what? That's been proven true now that they finally did catch the suspect. Hey, looks like pattern recognition wins again. Who could have guessed? Man, who saw this coming? The Republican establishment, along with a fair number of Democrats, are mourning him as a martyr for the American values of debate and civic engagement, even while critics argue that he was often divisive and extreme. With him died anyone who cared about debate and civic engagement with violent extremists. You guys ended that. There is not going to be any more debates after this. And some of those critics have already faced severe consequences. Matthew Dowd, a political analyst for MSNPC, found himself out of a job on Thursday after on-air comments about Kirk in the immediate wake of the Minecrafting, long before confirmation of his death. Dowd observed on Wednesday's appearance on the far-left cable news channel that Kirk was constantly sort of pushing this sort of hate speech aimed at certain groups, which, by the way, that is left-wing disinformation. All the hate is coming from them. All Charlie Kirk was doing was asking questions like, how can a guy be called a woman just for chopping his dick off? But that is hate speech by these idiots' definition. And this is why no one takes them seriously anymore. And the thing is, no one ever really took them seriously. It's just they were afraid to say so, because the types of consequences that this author is bitching about now, that's what our side has been dealing with for over a decade. For all this time, only the far left has been allowed to have true free speech. They were allowed to say anything they wanted with no consequences, whereas the other side had to walk on eggshells to avoid offending these snowflakes, lest they find themselves unemployed. Now the right has finally had enough, and they're forcing the left to live up to their own standards, and now they're crying about how evil it is. Maybe after living through this for another decade, we can talk. I think that's the environment we're in. The network cut ties with Dowd and apologized on his Pedo Sky account, while MSNPC President Rebecca Cutler issued a separate statement during our breaking news coverage of the Minecrafting of Charlie Kirk. Matthew Dowd made comments that are inappropriate, insensitive, and unacceptable, she said. We apologize for his statements, as has he. There is no place for violence in America, political or otherwise. Dowd also had a university speaking engagement canceled. Oh, no! They're holding this guy to the same standards that their side has been holding us to? Oh, how tragic. Now suddenly Rolling Stone cares about free speech. They couldn't give a fuck about free speech when it was them taking ours away. Now we're just holding them to their own standards, and they're acting like we're violating their rights or something. Are you going to admit that you knew you were violating our rights all these years? And what are you going to do to make up for it, huh? How are you going to pay us back for that, huh? I'm not hearing you guys talking about how you're going to make it up to us. The irony of this termination and a slew of similar firings over the past 24 hours is that Kirk and Turning Point USA, the conservative youth group he founded, branded themselves as the ultimate defenders of free speech. In a June debate in Oxford during a tour of the Airstrip 1, in which he condemned the country for its totalitarian censorship of citizens, he argued you should be allowed to say outrageous things. Freedom of speech doesn't mean freedom from consequences. Oh, and also, let me just say this. You guys killed him. All right, last year, Kirk posted on Twitter, hate speech does not exist legally in America. There's ugly speech, there's gross speech, there's evil speech. All of it's protected by the First Amendment. Keep America free. Yeah, and then meanwhile, you got Republicans talking about hate speech as if it was real. But let me once again reiterate, it doesn't matter what his opinions were at this point, because you killed him. To a lot of people, that actually shows that his opinions were wrong. He legitimately believed that he can have a debate, that he can have a conversation with violent far-left extremists. And this is what it got him. This is the uncomfortable truth the right needs to be coming to terms with. Maybe Charlie's opinions were actually wrong. Maybe things would have ended differently had he not had those wrong opinions. Maybe some of us who used to share his opinions before they were proven wrong have learned our lesson. And you are the ones who taught us the lesson. So you proved him wrong. Now you get the monster he was holding back. Exactly. Yet his supporters, regardless of their stated ideals of free expression and complaints about cancel culture, have been swift to extract retribution against those who have intimated that Kirk was a dangerous ideologue or effectively brought a violent end on himself. Yes, this is called consequence culture, Rolling Stone. It was perfectly fine and okay when you were the only ones doing it. But now that the other side is doing it, it's bad all of a sudden? No, you can't have it both ways. You're going to call us hypocrites while you're being such a blatant hypocrite? Right-wing social media figures, including Laura Loomer, Enrique Tarrio, and the pseudonymous Cat Turd and Chaya Rychik, the author of Libs of the account Libs of TikTok. Yeah, see, and they just can't stop posting their bias. Yeah, just they had to dox her too. They had to put her name out, not her handle, which is what she's known by. And then, oh yeah, it's anti-LGBT. Look, there was a time, like around the time when Will and Grace was on TV, most people were indifferent towards Alphabet Soup, maybe even sympathetic or supportive to him. You guys have radicalized everyone against him, though. You have no one to blame but yourselves. Just like how there will be no further debate with you after what your side did to Charlie Kirk. See, he was the last attempt we were willing to make to take the quote-unquote high ground. Not making that mistake again. I have sought to identify and expose individuals either speaking negatively of Kirk's effect on political discourse or seemingly celebrating his murder. An anonymously run website called Charlie's Murderers has served as a hub for personal information, including employment details about people allegedly endorsing the assassination. There's no allegedly there. There's proof there, man. They got it. A college administrator named on the list lost her job while others have received death threats. Oh, no, death threats. Yes, literally shut the fuck up. We have, for over a decade, we've been seeing this death threat excuse, but no one ever provides any proof. And then the few times we are given some proof, it's always some shit like, I hope you die in a fire. That's not a death threat, you fucking idiots. So like, whenever someone says they're getting death threats, don't believe them until they actually show you the threats. Because I'm sure like 1 out of 100 of them might be getting a legitimate threat. But the vast majority of them are either making it up so they could get online sympathy points, or that they were, or someone wished harm on them and they took that as a threat. So don't believe any of this unless they have receipts. And even if they do have receipts, like, man, remember Brianna Wu? If they can't get us to give them death threats, they will give themselves death threats on sock accounts. Yeah, so if all of a sudden all the so-called death threats are from accounts that were created yesterday, that's kind of a dead giveaway. Many have been targeted for pointing out that Kirk in current year -2 said it's worth the cost of having, unfortunately, some gun deaths every year so we can have a Second Amendment to protect our God-given rights. And once again, what he said has nothing to do with the violent far leftist that used a gun as a tool to kill him. You think if he wouldn't have had access to a gun, he wouldn't have found another way to do the deed? But again, these people aren't very, these NPCs aren't very bright. You can't expect them to be able to think when they only operate on emotion. We got to get through all this coping, though. Charlie Rock, a public relations coordinator for the NFL's Carolina Panthers, apparently alluded to this comment of Kirk's in a post on his personal Instagram account on Wednesday. Why y'all sad? Your man said it would be worth it, he said, including a reference to a song, Protect Your Neck by the Wu-Tang Clan. A source disclosed to the New York Lies on Thursday that the Panthers subsequently fired Rock. Yeah, how are you guys liking this consequence culture? It was funny as hell when you were doing this to us for the past decade, but after a mere 2 days, you're already willing, you're ready to throw in the towel? You can't handle it? No, this is just the beginning. No one has any sympathy for you. No one's going to listen to you like, oh, but you're being a hypocrite. Yeah, says the guy who's been calling me a Nazi pedophile, racist bigot for the past 5 years. Yeah, sure. Yeah, let's add hypocrite to the list. Why not? That's like the least bad of the things you've called me. No one takes you idiots seriously anymore. The views expressed by our employees are their own, do not represent those of the Carolina Panthers, the organization said in a post on Twitter. We do not condone violence of any kind. We are taking matters very seriously and have accordingly addressed it with the individual. Yep. And now these companies have to prove it. Whenever these hateful ideologues are spouting their hate speech, they need to be consequence cultured. Now, much of Kirk's inflammatory rhetoric has come from reevaluation, or has come in for reevaluation as America debates his legacy. He called for complete halt to immigration in the U.S. And what's the problem with that? Amplified the racist Great Replacement conspiracy theory. And remember, by current year definitions, a conspiracy theory is just a fact that only a few people notice a few years ahead of everyone else. I just want you to keep in mind that's what conspiracy theory means, at least by its current usage. Said that abortion bans should not make exceptions for struggle snow, even for girls as young as 10 years old, and expressed his fear that black airline pilots are unqualified. Oh, you mean that when we have actual evidence of DEI hires being placed in positions they didn't earn just to fill a quota, that some of them might be unqualified? You're really reaching for straws there if you have to use that as an own. Or attacked attacked Martin Luther King Jr. This is Rolling Stone's journalistic quality right there, man. And these guys expect to be taken seriously. Martin Luther King Jr. Was that Martin Luther King Jr.'s wife or something? While calling the Civil Rights Act 1964 a huge mistake. Well, the 19th Amendment was a huge mistake too. Did he mention that one? Declare that Islam is not compatible with Western civilization. Has he been proven wrong yet? Stood against alphabet soup privileges, and amplified the current year -1 narrative about Haitian immigrants in Ohio stealing and eating local pets. So that was a funny story. Like, didn't a bunch of people come out and say it was a hoax? And then others actually showed footage of it happening? Maybe it wasn't as widespread as some people were trying to claim, but it's not like it never happened. Spread the truth about Corona-chan during the pandemic. Yeah, they're still trying to latch onto that. They still won't admit they were totally wrong during the pandemic. All of the anti-vaxxer conspiracy theorists have been proven right after all this time. And these guys will not let it go that they gave in to fear. They were wrong. When advocated for a form of Christian nationalism that will end the separation between church and state. Well, we don't have separation of church and state anymore because the far left cult is the church of the state now. Kirk was known for peddling these views at college campuses, which he viewed as illiberal and repressive environments that stifle dissent and controversial ideas. Yeah, I mean, there are also environments in which you get killed for having these ideas. Now, indoctrinators and administrators across the country are being fired or suspended for speaking their minds on him. Good. Like I said earlier, we definitely should be asking, maybe he was wrong. Look what they did to him. He thought they could be reasoned with, and they resorted to violence. Maybe his ideas were wrong. That's the lesson we need to be taking from this. Laura Soshleitzy, an assistant dean of students at Middle Tennessee State University, was terminated for posting on Facebook she had zero sympathy for Kirk and that he spoke his fate into existence after Senator Marsha Blackburn drew attention to the online remarks demanding her firing. Soshleitzy has been at the school for more than 20 years. What does that have to do with anything? Man, come on, guys. Don't every single one of you have at least one former coworker you remember that was basically the Wally of the company? They've been there for 20, 30 years, but they're completely useless and just milking paychecks. That they just got themselves up into an unfireable position. Like maybe they're the only person that understands some complex system, but they're only needed to do like maybe 2 hours of work a week, and that's all the work they ever do. Yeah, it really doesn't matter how long they've been at it. Like it's like assuming someone is wise just because they're old. Like you would have to be blind to make that assumption. Like seriously. The University of Mississippi, meanwhile, fired an unidentified employee who allegedly reshared an Instagram post disparaging Kirk as a white supremacist and concluded, I have no prayers to offer Kirk or respectable statements against violence. Well, and I have no sympathy to offer you and no respectable statements against consequence culture. There you go. And see, whenever these idiots try to call me a hypocrite, like it's really funny because like these idiots operate as a hive mind. So all of these NPCs share the same programming and they project that onto the rest of us. So then they try to say like I've apparently had the same views as the right on everything. And I try to remind them, it's like, no, my principles have always been about reciprocity. I'm all about assuming everyone follows the golden rule. I will treat you how you treat me. I've never been one of those trad cucks that's like, oh, we always have to take the moral high ground, even if it means we lose every time. I'd rather be a principled loser than a winner. Yeah, I'm not one of those cucks, okay? So if they try to call me a hypocrite, like I'll just, hey, here's this video I made 10 years ago when I had this same opinion. So fuck you, bitch. Those that don't support my free speech don't deserve free speech. That's my fucking principle right there. Either you respect mine or you're not going to get me to respect yours. I treat others like they treat me. I am not going to fight for your free speech while you stifle mine. Nah, bitch. If you fight against mine, I will join in the fight against yours. Either we all have free speech or none of us do. Pick one. An elementary school teacher in Florida was suspended for from her position for posting an article about Kirk's death on her Facebook page, writing, "This may not be the obituary we are hoping to wake up to, but it's the close second for me." The state's indoctrination commissioner, Anastasios Kamostos, warned that teachers in a memo on Thursday that they were monitoring such statements. Yeah, like this makes sense. An elementary school teacher? Do you really want violent far left extremists indoctrinating elementary school kids? No, these are exactly like these are the biggest positions that we need to be on the lookout for these violent extremists for and get them fired. They should not be allowed to indoctrinate children. We will hold teachers who choose to make disgusting comments about the horrific assassination of Charlie Kirk accountable, he wrote. 2 teachers in Massachusetts are likewise placed on leave for unspecified posts regarding Kirk's death. Now, this is probably bullshit because they're likely on paid leave. And unless they end up getting fired, they basically just got a paid vacation. Virginia teacher has been suspended for taking to Facebook to say the assassination. I hope he suffered through all of it. Yeah, what kind people, am I right? What good persons that are on the right side of history? They're part of the solution, not the problem. Yeah, I would rather not be on the same side as these fucking hate-filled, violent extremists. And the Oklahoma State Department of Indoctrination has said it's investigating a middle school indoctrinator who posted disgraceful rhetoric in the wake of the deadly shooting. Yeah, payback's a bitch, isn't it? You don't get to suddenly cry and pretend to care about free speech when your own tactics are being used against you. Before you call us hypocrites, look in the fucking mirror. If you didn't care about our free speech, don't expect us to care about yours. There is no value in us defending your free speech when we know you're still going to try to take ours away. The cause for these punitive actions hardly appear in line with Kirk's purported philosophy of open discussion and absolute protections of incendiary and protective and offensive speech. Yes, once again, maybe we need to realize that he was wrong. We saw where his beliefs led him. Suddenly, however, a MAGA coalition that has long insisted on their right to demonize and threaten marginalized communities, joke and fantasize about violent attacks on their enemies, and push conspiracy theories to justify an authoritarian agenda has outraged other Americans who dare voice their contempt for a slain hero of reactionary conservatism. As ever, the hypocrisy is no less galling for being entirely predictable. Yeah. If only this fucking idiot had any self-awareness. Yeah, the same side that has been deplatforming and canceling the right for doing all of the above suddenly thinks it's wrong to deplatform people for doing this. As ever, the hypocrisy is no less galling for being entirely predictable. Man, what is it with the far left and actually having very good talking points but completely lacking self-awareness? Like in this article's case, they don't realize they're the hypocrites. And then there's my favorite talking point of theirs of all time, that to those with privilege, losing that privilege seems like oppression. And they have zero self-awareness. They don't even know they're the privileged ones that are just losing that privilege while they cry that they're being oppressed. It's almost as if someone gave them a script to parrot and they don't actually understand what they're saying. Wait up, that's probably exactly what happened, isn't it? That's how it works with NPCs. They just follow their code.